Hello, the poster titled Equity in an Online Environment, Teaching Experiences During the COVID-19 Pandemic is presented by Brenard Malcolm and Karina Daniel, both of the St. George's University. One of the primary goals of online learning's early development was the intention to close gaps and create greater access to education for students. Apana recognizes that today, students of socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds stand to benefit the most from this type of access to education. For many of them, their main challenge is that they cannot afford to physically be at a campus to attend the classes. Many schools all over the world have been offering online learning opportunities, but as Mukhtar et al. Relate, the COVID-19 pandemic forced schools that use a more traditional style of delivery to rethink their processes and methods in the wake of school closures as countries scrambled to contain the virus. During this unprecedented time, internationally based institutions were even more greatly impacted by the travel restrictions that were imposed. Especially for these schools, they had to innovate and rethink their approaches to the education they offered, both in the interest of their students' education and their own sustainability. The shift caused by the pandemic brought students' diversity and needs to the forefront and served as a reminder that modes of teaching and learning should ideally aim to address all the diverse needs of students. This moves beyond needs based just on socioeconomic backgrounds and also considers the varied facets of equity that our students bring to the classroom, such as age, gender, race, and religion. CAST's Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, framework is a tool that educators can use to help understand and predict the variability that exists in learner needs. The three arms of UDL focus on integrating multiple ways of representing information for students, multiple opportunities for students to engage with this information, and multiple means for students to express understanding of the information. In our context, UDL was embedded in our undergraduate communication courses delivered traditionally. But our move to delivering these courses in an online environment provided an opportunity for us to reassess our application of the framework and to ensure that the strategies we employed responded to the various and varied needs of the students in our courses. This led to a heavier reliance on UDL and a greater integration of the framework as we delivered our courses. Our approach assumed a practice-based perspective as we recall and recount our teaching experiences in an online environment during the COVID-19 pandemic. Practice or practitioner-based research is a type of research that leans on the researcher's involvement and actions as practitioners in the field in which they are conducting the research. It requires significant consideration of and reflection on experiences within one's practice, and one of its main goals is to enhance this practice. Redesigning the classroom for the online setting with the diverse needs of students in mind from the start helps to prevent accessibility issues that might have arisen later. One of the most common ways in which UDL can be integrated is through multimodal content delivery methods such as text, audiovisuals, and video to share information with students. Incorporating these multiple means appeals to students' perception and respects students' varied ways of consuming information. Additionally, the recording of our lectures, something we started doing only during the pandemic, and the addition of subtitles to these lectures catered to the linguistically diverse students by helping to support language needs of our diverse international student population. The integration of various ethnicities in class materials promoted the development of understanding as well as recognition of varied perspectives. Group work forms a significant part of our teaching methodology as our class sizes usually exceed 6 to 5 students. In our traditional classroom setting, students are broken up into large groups that we call cohorts, which are assigned to specific instructors within the course. We also then break these larger cohorts into smaller groups based on the session activities. In the online setting, Zoom breakout rooms allowed us to keep a version of these groupings to continue the community we try to establish in the courses and to promote collaboration. Although we solicit feedback from students in the traditional classroom setting to help improve their learning experience, we also did so in the online setting and applied what we could during the term so that students could see their ideas in action, positively impacting their motivation. We also held multiple iterations of the same session to cater to students in different time zones. This worked well for us because of our team teaching approach to our courses. Finally, teaching in an online environment enabled us to allow students varied ways of sharing their learning and understanding. For example, in live sessions, students had the option to unmute themselves and make verbal contributions to the session, but could also opt to make their contributions by writing in the Zoom chat, something we could not do in person. We saw active participation grow, and this confirms that for many students, they want to contribute, but just prefer an alternative to the traditional oral contributions students typically make during classes. We also incorporated the use of several virtual and interactive tools such as Padlet, quizzes, and embedded Zoom features that provided multiple means for students to engage and express their learning. The online setting also facilitated a variation of synchronous and asynchronous activities which considered students' needs related to processing and completion times. In fact, we increased the amount of content offered asynchronously to better accommodate students' needs, and some of these class elements remain today, even though we have returned to the live classroom. Given the conclusions from our results and other information presented here, we want to make a simple recommendation. Educators in online learning environments should intentionally integrate all components of UDL in these environments, considering the following conclusions. Most of the UDL design elements that are used in traditional learning environments are directly applicable and transferable to online learning environments. UDL is applicable in all types of learning contexts, especially in international schools with diverse student populations. UDL is a useful tool to integrate as a means to create buy-in when delivering courses that may be challenging for some students, as we have seen in our case of teaching writing to students in the health sciences who sometimes do not consider themselves to be strong writers and communicators.